Look, here's the deal with your Justin Herbert. You go to LA, you're going to have this responsibility to potentially be the face of the franchise in a new stadium with a relatively new fan base in a new market. But you also have something else, a really good on the field product. You look at the stars on this team, they're loaded. I mean, the Chargers have no excuse, even this year, after having this roster with Derwin James healthy and Bosa and Melvin Ingram. And we can go through all the different players. My issue here is, was Tua the guy or was Herbert the guy? Because Tua went at 5. If the Chargers wanted Tua to be the player, they didn't offer enough to move up in front of Miami, and they got another quarterback, and one who I'm sure they're happy with. But if they had Herbert above Tua, then they're great. They're doing flips. If they didn't, well, I wonder if they will someday regret not just offering a second or a third round pick and going up and getting their guy Tua Tagovailoa. Very interesting pick here because Tua would have been selling tickets and he would have had that entire market on fire. Herbert, there's a couple shrugged shoulders and we'll see how this goes. Very interesting to see how this plays out in the long term.
You know, this is a difficult question to answer. You know, when you're trying to think about who's in the best situation, it's tough because what do you want? Do you want to hear that Joe Burrow's in the best situation because he's going to start? We know that. The days of Andy Dalton being the starter in Cincinnati, they're done. Do you want me to say Herbert because he has an opportunity to fight for a chance to start? And he does. Think about it. The first time Tyrod Taylor micromanages a game and they don't win, that crowd is going to be yelling for Herbert. Or do you want me to answer and say that it's Tua Tagovailoa because he's going to be able to sit outside the game, watch it from a bird's eye view, learn from Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then in his second season come back smarter, healthier, and then go out there and try to light the league up? I mean, personally, I love it when quarterbacks have to sit because, one, you're humbled immediately, and you realize that I can dominate in college, and I'm not the man right now. Two, you get to watch the entire league and pick and choose pieces of what you want. If you're Tua Tagovailoa, you can say, you know what? I want to work on my pocket presence, so I'm going to watch Russell Wilson all year. You know, I want to have poise in the pocket, so I'm going to pay attention to how Drew Brees does it. You know what? I want to understand how to sit in the pocket without having to run like Tom Brady. Or I'm going to pay attention to Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers and see how they negotiate the pocket, extend plays, and then throw it downfield to my wide receivers. I feel like when it comes to learning and then excelling in their second season, I'm going to go with Tua Tagovailoa for the best fit in being in the best situation.
Wow.
I hear you, Nate. Tua does have a lot of things going for him, a lot of mystery there, though. And I look at Justin Herbert. Okay, you get to stay in the Pac-12. You get some great players around you. You get a really cool coach and a loaded roster. And you get Patrick Mahomes twice a year for the rest of your career, for the rest of your life, pretty much. I don't know how desirable that is, dropping into that Chiefs gauntlet as Mahomes is just now realizing his powers. And Justin Herbert's job, specifically, make no bones about it, guys, is to beat Patrick Mahomes. That is why you get drafted at that point, to take out the man. It's the same reason the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky to beat Aaron Rodgers, and it hasn't really happened. I will say this, speaking of the Packers, in a roundabout way, I think Jordan Love might have landed in the best spot. Let me tell you why. Jordan Love, as we know coming up to this, a lot of work to do. Little erratic, kind of a project. If he landed somewhere where it's like, you're in, kid, that might have absolutely exploded. He's going to sit for a year. He might sit for 2 years. He might sit for 3 years. I don't know. And I know we're going to get into this, but I would bet my life that Aaron Rodgers will not only be a good mentor for him, he will be a role model and the best mentor anybody has ever had. I think it is a point of pride for Rodgers. I think he is a much more enlightened athlete than Brett Favre was at his time, and I think that Jordan Love will learn a ton from Rodgers while he waits, and it's the best thing that could ever happen to him.
Which receiver drafted last night do you think was the best possible fit?
I love the CeeDee Lamb selection. You know, just like Schrager, I thought that CeeDee Lamb was going to be the first wide receiver off the board, but I believe the Cowboys were sitting there and CeeDee fell into their lap, just like when you're driving and that case logic falls on top of your stomach. For me, I feel like when it comes to CeeDee Lamb and the combination with Amari Cooper, it's the perfect duo because the Cooper is such a good route runner, and everything that we've been talking about when it comes to CeeDee Lamb is he is a route runner. And now you add that to Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott. I feel like building around Dak Prescott, giving him everything he needs, so there isn't any more excuses. CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys, what a selection. Listen, if you didn't see him when he got selected, we'll break it down a little later in the show. He showed his vision, and he has great hands. I'll talk about that a little later.
Love it, Nate. I
KB?
bet the fresh caviar came out on the super yacht after that pick. Listen, I'm going to look at Justin Jefferson, LSU, to the Vikings at 22. I love the pick. Obviously, the Stephon Diggs void. This is a guy to work with Thielen. This was Burrow's guy at LSU, and I think Kirk Cousins has a little Burrow in him, or vice versa. But guys, more importantly, we've been talking a lot about the draft-a-thon last night, the telethon to raise money for COVID-19 relief that we were a part of. And I wasn't involved with Blake Shelton at all, but when I got in the virtual room, as I mentioned, it's Lamar Jackson, Big Boy from Outkast, Lil Wayne, Dion, Mike Vick. So you can imagine my relief when Rich Eisen says, oh, and look, Kirk Cousins is joining us. I was like, yes, my guy, Kirk. Kirk comes in, and I wanted to transition from hip-hop and football to be like, Kirk, where do you come out on Creed? Are you a weathered guy or My Own Prison? So the point is, though, when Kirk comes in, we're about 1 or 2 picks away from the Vikings pick. So it was a fascinating experience for a fan if you wanted to click on it, because Kirk is sitting there, I'm not making this up, bouncing up and down in his seat, super distracted watching his TV, saying, we're almost up here, we're almost up, we're the next pick, we're the next pick. And I have a feeling he might have known that they were going to get him a toy, a post-Stephon Diggs toy. And I can't really think of a better one than Jefferson, who's a lot of things. The word that jumps out the most is just versatile. And I know Cousins will have fun with them, and I know that offense will keep running. Is an amazing experience to watch a star quarterback about to get his next star receiver and the draft-a-thon. So everybody watch it tonight, 7 p.m.
Kyle, I love it, because yesterday on the show you made such a great point about all these mock drafts. You said these are not, Moses with the tablets, like who's going to go where, and all, which is why I love what the 49ers did, because they took Brandon Ayuk at 25th overall, a guy that I've been talking about all week who returns kicks and had 710 yards after contact. And in the press conference after taking Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan said, Brandon Ayuk was the highest rated wide receiver we had on our board. That includes CeeDee Lamb, that includes Henry Ruggs, that includes Jerry Jeudy, and that includes Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor, who were taken before him. Shanahan had Ayuk as the number 1 wideout on their board, and they get him after trading back and also getting Javon Kinlaw. So to me, this is what the draft is all about. What is going to fit your team? And you're watching the highlights of Ayuk. If you're a 49ers fan right now, let me tell you something. Senior Bowl, everyone came away with this thing saying first-round pick. Combine, everyone came away from this thing saying, okay, top 5 wide receiver. At the draft, Kyle Shanahan, who knows a thing or two about receivers. Remember, he's coached Julio, he's coached Andre Johnson. He said he was his number 1 wide receiver in the most loaded wide receiver draft we have ever seen. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, watch out, NFL.
I wanted to see Henry Ruggs fall to the Broncos. I told that to Cynthia Freeland on her draft special, but he went first, speed 1, over being a complete receiver and an extremely well-polished route runner. So the fact that Jerry Jeudy now gets to go to a Broncos offense that has Drew Lock, who looked incredible late in the season, has a handful of really, really nice games and can build on that. Another first-rounder named Noah Fant, and Courtland Sutton, who is always slept on. This is an insane offense here. The AFC West is doing this thing where it's an arms race to try to take out the Kansas City Chiefs and outscore them, it looks like. So then you've got Phillip Lindsay, you've got Melvin Gordon. I am so into the Denver Broncos offense. You've got Drew Lock out here tweeting smirk emojis, and I'm loving it. So that's how I feel.